the presentation, the evidence, and the verdict on whether Ron DeSantis is wearing lifts in his cowboy boots. Now, there are very many, I'm not sure how many things in this world that I can, without a doubt, look at you dead in the eye and say to you, I'm an expert. But when it comes to cowboy boots, I might be as close as you're going to get outside of a cobbler, outside of a bootmaker, of being an expert. Not only have I worn cowboy boots since my teens, I have an unhealthy obsession with cowboy boots. I don't know how many I own, how many pairs of cowboy boots I own. I inherited, because they can be an heirloom, I inherited, I don't know, 10 pairs of cowboy boots. Through my lifetime, I've bought another 24. I would say I probably own somewhere between 30 and 40 pairs of cowboy boots. And I have every kind that you can imagine. I have Western heels, riding heels, roper heels, ostrich, smooth cow skin, smooth ostrich skin. I have had elephant. I have rough out, also known as suede. I have every imaginable skin, well, not all, but almost every imaginable skin and style that you can envision when it comes to cowboy boots. Why does my expertise matter today? Because there is an accusation that Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, presidential candidate in the Republican Party, is wearing lifts in his cowboy boots, internal heels designed to make him look taller. He was confronted on the Patrick Bet David podcast about this viral internet accusation. He denied it and said he buys off-the-rack Lucchese cowboy boots. Now, I want to first say, I'm not interested in the story the way that I feel like so much or so many are on the internet. I'll be real. I think in some ways it's hackish. People are going after Ron DeSantis because they're all in on Trump and they just want to destroy DeSantis. And so looking for any small thing. And I'm not doing this today for that reason. I'm doing it because it's fun. And I think it's interesting. It doesn't impact really one way or another how I feel about Ron DeSantis. And he's not the only person or candidate who certainly has made questionable fashion choices or who is dealing with insecurity or physical flaws. I mean, Donald Trump wears bronzer. I mean, he wears bronzer. I mean, so do I. I wear bronzer. Look, to show you that I'm not going after Ron DeSantis for any partisan or personal perspective, look at me. I've got a come-and-go jawline. I'm like a piece of fruit that you can't decide if it's ripe or if it's already turned. A piece of meat that, does it smell quite right? I'm not young. I'm not old. I'm right there on that edge. The creases around my eyes a little too deep. Again, the jawline a little too indistinct. I'm bordering at times on skinny fat. So I come at you not from a position of expertise on physical perfection. I don't come at you today to mock from a position of I don't come at you today from a position of ability to mock somebody because of my superiority. And again, I'm not in support of a political candidate because I think we've at this point, we have well discussed Donald Trump's interesting hairstyles or his overwhelmingly positive physical administered by his doctors in the White House, where I think he comes back essentially at 6'4", 215, runs a 4.4 40. If he weren't running for president, he'd be playing tight end in the NFL. No, I'm interested in this not because I think I'm great or I'm for Donald Trump, but rather just because I think it's really interesting that Ron DeSantis might be wearing lifts inside of his cowboy boots. So first, a little bit of a tutorial on cowboy boots. For those of you listening on the Will Cain podcast and not watching, I have in my hands a pair of riding boots. These are true cowboy boots. These are from the Will Cain, Montana ranching days. What you're looking at here is a cowboy boot designed for cowboying. You got shark skin heels so that it doesn't scuff up or tear up leather when you put on spurs. It's got a shelf on the heel for a spur. It's got reinforced leather right along the jean line for all kinds of reasons, not just jeans, but where the front of your spurs come around and latch so that you don't wear out that leather. It's got most notably, oh, by the way, on the throat, on the top of the boot, it's got huge pull holes so you can pull the boot off and on. This type of boot, by the way, quite honestly, look at the deep the cuts are. The boots can gather and stack at the top or come on the outside like a normal cowboy boot. Because this isn't about fashion. This is about cowboying. But why I pull this boot out is I want to show you the heel. That's a riding heel. That's an extreme Western heel. Deep in cut here at the inside. This is designed to get in and out of a stirrup easily. It's tall enough. This is designed to be sitting on a horse, not walking around. Trust me. You walk around in this thing long enough, you're going to feel it. It raises up. That's a good, what is that? That's a good 2.5-inch heel. Now, but if you sit your heel down in this, you can see this is my foot sitting in it. The ball of my toe is going to hit towards the final 3/4 of the boot. I know some of you are listening and not watching, but my toes would end up right around near the toe of the boot. That right there is a riding heel. Now, I've got a couple of pairs here I want to show you. These are Western heels. This is what Ron DeSantis is wearing. You can see this is a Western-heeled cowboy boot. Lower, but still, that's about a 1-inch to 1.25-inch heel right there, right? Still got the Western, cuts in a little bit, not a straight-down dingo boot style of a heel. Western, this is your traditional cowboy boot. This is your traditional dress, not riding, walking around cowboy boot. That's just cow skin right there. I think this is Lucchese. That's what Ron DeSantis says he's wearing right there. Off the rack, Lucchese. These are everyday boots for me. All right. Then we're going to stick with this boot, man. This here, another Western heel, right? I walk around in this one. This is Smooth Ostrich, okay? This is custom ML Letty's. And the reason I'm going to leave this one out, we're going to talk about this one, is we're going to compare that to Ron DeSantis's. I'm going to put these boots around here. Now, if you're listening, I'll do my best to visually show you what we're talking about. Here's another Western heel. That's full quill ostrich. I think that's Lucchese too. Yep, that's Lucchese. Full quill ostrich, Western heel. This one's a snip toe because I like every kind of boot. I got round toe, square toe, snip toe. I wear them all. You can see that's probably the most controversial toe, guys. Not quite a roach stomper, the pointers that you can get a roach up in the corner of the room. But that I like a little flair on my cowboy boot. These are for when you're dressing up. That's dress black cherry cowboy boot. All right. Here's an everyday boot right here. That's just Tecovas. Everybody's probably bought a pair. These I wear around the campfire. They're beat up. That's rough out or suede. But when I got this one out, this is a roper heel, okay? That's just a plain old walk-in heel, okay? Not really a dress boot style. But you can get it in dress, right? Here's a roper that's full quill ostrich black. I think this one's Justin. Anyway. Now, Ron DeSantis is wearing a Western heel designed to give you a little height. Not designed, but it's what it does. Again, this one is about a 1.25-inch heel. Ron DeSantis' external heel looks a little bit bigger than this heel. That's fine. You want a little bit higher external heel? That's fine. The question is he got a lift inside designed to give him another 2 inches so that, again, if you're listening instead of watching, I'm drawing a diagonal line from where the heel of the boot meets the instep up towards the back of the heel, right? To lift you up another couple of inches. And if you did have an internal lift, you'd look like those ladies' boots. There's those suede lady boots. You can see this on the internet, by the way. Some videos comparing Ron DeSantis is like that, where you end up walking on your tippy toes and your foot sits like this. In this boot, which I would wear, you can see my foot would sit like this, right? My heel here, the big knuckle on my big toe about here, and the end of my toe about here, all the way up to the toe. The knuckle about 3/4 up the boot. But if you are lifting your heel up, you're going to be like this. You're going to be an extreme diagonal. Now, what would that do? It would do a lot of things from the outside to the boot. So let's walk through the evidence. Number one, you can see video of Ron DeSantis walking across stage, and it looks weird. He's doing like a high knee step and then a short, stride, And it's as though he can't really walk in the cowboy boots naturally, which you should be able to walk in any one of these heels. This one would be the toughest to walk in, but you'd get there naturally. He seems to be walking on the ball of his foot, like if you were wearing 5-inch stiletto heels. It just looks weird. Piece of evidence number 2. His shins look abnormally long. When he's wearing a suit, when you see him sit, he was on Bill Maher. And when you see him sit, his foot's on the ground, where his knee, and you can see the length up to his knee, his shins look really long, like the heels of his foot aren't on the ground. Maybe that's his way his body's shaped, but I do think it's suspect. Number 3. Something looks weird in the heel. Okay, I don't know if this is a piece of evidence, but just watch enough. When he's sitting there on that set of Bill Maher, something looks off where his heel seems to be sitting in the boot. And that's evidenced by number 4. This part of the boot, the top of your boot, right here where you know it would be the top of your foot. You can see how mine's kind of creased a little bit right there. This is where the leather folds a little when you do that, right? All of my boots would look like that. You can see on the instep here, you can see it's creased right there where your ankle bends in the front of your boot. All of these, you'd see the crease. Well, DeSantis's are pulled taut when he's wearing it. Like, really, like when his foot's are, this is all stretched out up here in the top of the boot where your top of your ankle would be. And I think that's because he's jamming his foot into a boot that's too big and pushing his heel back this way and stretching the top of his boot right here. You can see images, and I'm sorry that I don't have these images available for you right now. Next, the knuckle, again, your big toe knuckle, it should hit about right here. DeSantis's looks like it's hitting about back here, way back about the middle of the boot. Not the right place for a knuckle unless you were lifting it up into an extreme diagonal. But then, finally, the biggest piece of evidence. In order to do that, if you had lifts on the inside and you were forcing your foot to go this way, then you wouldn't be filling diagonal, extreme down diagonal. You wouldn't be filling out the front of your boot, right? You wouldn't be filling out the toe box of your boot. And you might have to get boots that are too big for you in order to pull this off. So what that does is it makes the toe curl up because your feet aren't in it. But you can see mine, I mean, there's a slight bit of curl here, right? But his kind of look like that. I'm bending it up, almost like there's those Mexican boots from a few years ago that had extreme curls up. Remember those? It was a style like 10 years ago? Or like a clown shoe a little bit, you know? It kind of pops up. Look at that. That's a snip toe. That's a long boot. Snip toe went longer, so get out, because my toes actually end right here on this boot. Because of the way that toe box is designed, you're not going to jam all your toes into this little spot. So your toes kind of end right here. And you can see it still doesn't curl up. Still doesn't curl up. Which says to me, Ron DeSantis' toes aren't going up toward the front of his boot. And they're not because he's lifting it up at an extreme diagonal from an internal lift. Verdict, yes, Ron DeSantis is wearing lifts. Says he's 5'11". I don't care how tall he is. Doesn't matter. I don't care even that he's putting a lift in. Okay, maybe he's got an insecurity or two about his height. And so I don't care. I don't think it matters when it comes to running for president. He could still earn my vote. I don't care. But we might as well look for the truth and have a little fun on something where I happen to be an expert. Cowboy boots. That's going to do it for today here on the Will Cain podcast. I will see you again next time. Hey, it's Will Cain. Click here to subscribe to the Fox News channel on YouTube. It's the best way to get our latest interviews and highlights. And click to subscribe to the Will Cain podcast for full episodes right now.